With all these men asking,
"What is a woman?"
it's only a matter of time before someone asks, what is a man? Some people say that biology is all that matters, that if you're born with a male reproductive system, you're a man. But it's total BS. I'm a biological man, and yet I'm constantly told that I'm too gay to be a real man. So what does it mean to be a man? And am I a real one? In this video, we'll explore different aspects of masculinity. We'll see how early life experiences shape our manhood, and we'll discuss how men perform masculinity for others. So if you like that type of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You can also like this video to help other people join this very important conversation, and I cannot wait to read all your comments. During my research for this video, I stumbled upon different men addressing the topic of masculinity on YouTube. For instance, I found this video early in my research, and I clicked on it expecting to disagree with Eddie's take on masculinity. I looked at the thumbnail and judged Eddie for his appearance. He's a stereotypical masculine man, so I thought surely he and I will disagree on the meaning of masculinity. And yet I found myself agreeing with many things he says. For example,
we paint this picture of a man is a buff dude, tatted out, going out hunting, going to the range and shooting, head plates in under 2 seconds. And that's fine. But if that's your identity and that's what makes you think that you are a man because you went and shot a deer, but yet you can't even go be there for your wife or your children, you're not a man.
I disagree with other topics Eddie talks about on his channel. And that's fine, we can disagree. But my initial judgment of Eddie was based on his appearance, based on the version of masculinity he is performing. And it says something about my own perception of hyper-masculine men, as if men embodying typical masculine attributes were automatically adhering to outdated ideals. And that's just not the case. Eddie talks about how his concept of masculinity evolved with time, and I must say, mine too. I think growing up gay limited my exposure to typically masculine activities like football or hockey. In high school, I never considered joining the football team because I did not feel like it would be a welcoming place for me. Boys my age did not want to hang out with me because they feared that other boys would perceive them as being gay too. So I was more drawn to safe spaces like theater and music, where I felt I could make friends regardless of my sexuality or the type of masculinity I was exuding. Obviously, when I say typical masculine activities, I don't mean that women cannot play football or that men cannot do musical theater, but you know what I'm saying. Teenage boys care about that type of thing. It's just a fact of life that we still live in a heavily gendered society. When people talk about toxic masculinity, they sometimes refer to the notion that typically masculine spaces are not welcoming to all men. And based on my experience, I agree. For example, some sports leagues are only truly welcoming to men who fit the narrow definition of manhood as defined by society. That's why whenever a gay man makes it big in professional sports like football, it's an accomplishment in itself. Because I did not feel comfortable with typically masculine activities as a teenager, I ended up developing a love for those activities later in life, when I felt more comfortable with myself and my sexual identity, and most importantly, when other men felt more comfortable with me being in those spaces. Today I play football and hockey, I go to the gym almost every day, and I love it. I really wish I was comfortable enough to join these activities earlier in life. Being gay limited my early exposure to typically masculine activities because I did not belong. So naturally, I come to the conclusion that sexuality shapes the way that people view someone's masculinity. For instance, Eddie talks about his masculinity in relation with his heterosexuality.
I was talking to a young man, and I knew I related to him very well, as if he didn't get certain things from his woman, that he would automatically, without fail, go to the internet. Let's think about that. He said that, and I was like, I felt sorry for him, and at the same time, I'm like, man, I was like that.
And I think that's valid. I know that my sexuality interacts with how other men perceive me. I'm aware that some men view me as lesser of a man because I'm gay. I experienced it repeatedly in my life. as though heterosexuality and masculinity go hand in hand. Perhaps that's why some fathers find it more difficult to come to terms with their son being gay. But we know that stereotypical masculinity is not exclusively reserved to heterosexual men. Many gay men exude stereotypical masculine energy, and there's even a term to describe it. It's called straight passing. And straight passing gay men face less discrimination and bullying because of it. So even in LGBTQ+ circles, masculinity is heavily associated with heterosexuality. And it all comes down to this fact: masculinity is performative. It's performed for others in society based on an ever-changing set of learned characteristics. For example, a man is more likely to be viewed as a masculine guy if he holds hands with a woman rather than holding hands with another guy. The performative nature of masculinity also extends to instinctive behaviors. For example, some men may have a more, quote, masculine walk. Maybe they inherited that walk from their father. Chances are that you will perceive that man as more masculine than me because of it. He performs more convincingly the stereotypical attributes of masculinity than I can. And let's face it, even today, being perceived as a masculine guy matters to many of us. How many men avoid sitting with their legs crossed because it looks too gay, or avoid wearing certain items of clothing because they fear it looks too feminine? I'm old enough to remember how men would avoid wearing pink until they realized that a pink shirt would not make them gay. It's easy to see how the desire to be perceived as masculine may affect how some men act in public or how they present themselves. Men seeking to appear more masculine may grow a beard, gain muscles, or drive a sports car. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I would love to grow a beard if I could. I'm actively trying to gain muscles, and I'm learning to drive stick so I can drive my boyfriend's sports car. It just shows that I perform masculinity too, despite what other men may say. In fact, I'm also attracted to masculinity. I like stereotypically masculine men. I don't know why, but I do. I'm also attracted to nice guys with good values and ambition, none of which are particularly associated with masculinity. That's because masculinity is not a common mindset shared by all men. Being a man cannot be described in broad, unifying terms. You don't need to grow a beard, lift heavy at the gym, or date a woman to be a man. It's not a state of mind or a set of values. It's not something that inherently defines us as human beings, but it's part of our identity nonetheless. And maybe that's all masculinity is, a small performance of our broader identity. Thanks for watching. Click the top link to watch the state of LGBTQ+ rights in the world, and click the bottom link for my latest video.